Bobby Jindal is going to speak at the Republican convention, and I, for one, couldn't be happier about it. Anyone who knows me knows that I am not fond of the Louisiana governor. A simple look at my blog will show you all the reasons why I feel Bobby Jindal was the wrong choice. One of the several reasons that Bobby Jindal was able to win the governor's election so easily is because of his uncanny ability to make the media believe whatever he wants them to believe. Virtually no media outlets made any real attempt to do any real fact-checking about Bobby Jindal and his record. Most media reports about his campaign just read like campaign press releases. I vaguely remember 2 articles that were at least somewhat critical of him. One of them was in the Baton Rouge Advocate that was against Bobby Jindal's support of intelligent design in the classroom, and there was a second by Jeremy Alford that seemed to at least somewhat question Jindal and his stances. Everyone else sung his praises, and basically he was able to walk into the governor's mansion because people said to themselves, if the media isn't questioning what he is saying about his past or about his intentions to do when he becomes governor, it must be true. Even after the election was finished, and during a special session on ethics reform, news reporters balked at actually reporting about what he was doing. A reporter from the Baton Rouge Advocate was cited as saying that reporters are afraid of questioning Jindal and his policies for fear of being cut off by Press Secretary Melissa Sellers. Steve Sabludowski of BayouBuzz.com was one of the first to be cut off the governor's email list, though he reports that he has since been restored to that list. The Louisiana media only really started questioning Jindal when they started seeing what the Louisiana bloggers like myself were saying all along, that Bobby Jindal was a hypocrite and that he was insincere about bringing true ethics reform to Louisiana. Some of this can be seen in the legislation that he passed that made it harder to convict people on ethics violations, and in his rejection of increased transparency on his office, even though he called for increased transparency on the ethics board and on the legislature. There are also other pieces of legislation that can be seen that expose his hypocrisy and his insincerity about ethics reform, but those 2 are some of the main ones that the media latched onto and actually started being critical about Louisiana's new governor. So this is one of the reasons that I'm very happy to see Bobby Jindal and him speaking at the Republican National Convention. Bobby Jindal will finally get put under a microscope for everything he says and does. Of course, I'm sure he will still offer up his typical spin about what he's done, what he has done, and what he will do. But with the national media paying attention, more people are going to be dissecting what he has to say, and there will be more coverage on where what he says about his past is incorrect or not the whole picture, and people will get a more solid picture about who the real Bobby Jindal is. And that will finally be a breath of fresh air. Another reason I'm thrilled to see Jindal speaking at the Republican convention is that he basically has 2 choices. He can either speak as he would to a regular Republican crowd, or he can speak as he would to people in the media or to a more diversified crowd. If he does the former, and he preaches about things like his support of teaching creationism in the classroom, his support of passing bans on abortion with no exceptions for the life of the woman or for women who are raped, and basically his support of using government as a tool to promote his religious beliefs, including most recently by refusing to continue the executive orders signed by the previous Louisiana governor that extended discrimination protection to include sexual orientation, he will be exposed for the extremist conservative that he is, and mainstream America would reject him in 2012 or 2016 or whenever he would decide to run for president. Yes, I'm sure the right-wing extremist conservative base of the Republican Party would just eat it all up and love to hear him talking about how much he hates gays and wants to teach non-science in the science room. But guess what? Most of America will reject him as being far too extreme if he comes out and plays the part of the extremist conservative that he really is. If he does the latter, and he gives a wishy-washy kissing up to the media and to the centrists, and basically doesn't do anything that would piss anyone off outside the party, conservatives are going to wonder what happened to the so-called next Ronald Reagan that Rush Limbaugh and others have been basically fawning over, and they would lose their excitement over him. His name will quickly drop from being the future of the Republican Party to being just another Republican who probably won't make it past the primaries. So yes, when it comes to Bobby Jindal getting a prime time slot in the Republican National Convention, I say bring it on. The more people learn about Bobby Jindal, the better it is for the American public.